Hello, my name is Kai, and I am a bit of a rambler. I like to travel, learn, and tell stories. And today, I'm going to ramble on. I wanted to start out with some pretty cool news. It seems like a couple people are actually listening to this podcast. According to the extremely vague beep-boop numbers I get on the production side here from Spreaker, there are definitely more listens and downloads than I have people I know. I know like nobody, but I've shared it with a few people. And there's definitely some people listening to it because I don't know where those listens are coming from otherwise. And I have got a few comments on them. So, I just want to say thank you real quick because it's really cool that you guys and gals and others, werewolves obviously, are listening to this podcast. It's fun for me to make, and I just had so many stories that I would tell so many times, and I still tell them occasionally, but considering how important all of these stories are to the person I've become, I'm glad that I can finally put them up somewhere in a sort of static collection of all of these important facets of who I've become. So anyway, thank you everybody for listening, and let's go ramble on some more. Oh, you know what I want to talk about first? I've had this Motorola phone now for over a week, and it is still better in every way than the Pixel 6. And a huge part of that is the just fundamental, bare bones, no bullshit OS. It works. There was no bloatware. There were a few extra apps. I got rid of them. I put on all of my apps that I had on my Pixel 6, and the Motorola is running as fast as when I initially finished all the updates for it. There seems to be zero burden on the phone itself from installing all the apps. Now on the Pixel 6, it is noticeably slower after I install 10, 20 apps. I'll say like 20 to 30 apps. After 20 apps, it's just not as fast or responsive. With the Motorola, I literally can't tell the difference. I turn off animations on all of my phones, and so the animations are off on the G54 here, G54, and it is instant. Everything is still instant. I am blown away by the performance so far. It's nicer. And I know the screen is technically worse, but instead of whatever the heck the Pixel 6 did with its screen, I can set this to a constant 120 Hz refresh rate. So although it is, I believe, an LCD screen, the 120 Hz refresh rate makes it feel way smoother and more fun to play with and more comfortable to play with. And I think to look at it, I love staring at it. And I don't like staring at the Pixel. The other weird thing, and by weird I mean totally expected from Google, is that they claim a higher nits brightness, a higher display brightness for the 6, and of course all their phones, than this Motorola G54. But I don't see it at all. This phone definitely seems at least more clear and I believe brighter. Although it still has a pretty low brightness rating, but usually when I'm outside I'm listening to podcasts anyway, and I am pale and burn like a side of bacon, so I don't go out in blaring sunlight anyway usually. So it's definitely bright enough. I'm usually at 30 to 50% brightness on the display anyway. Especially right now when I'm narrating through the night, podcasting through the night. Oh, see, I'm a werewolf. That's why I talked about werewolves. I love everything about this freaking Motorola. Oh, right. Okay, there's no heat. I mean, so when the Pixel 6 has to do more than one operation, literally, or it downloads anything, even just one download, it gets hot. Not like hand is burning, but it definitely gets warm enough that like your palm will sweat if you're holding the phone on your palm for a while. Like, it's a warm phone, and any process seems to do that to my Pixel 6. The Moto it's handling, I think that extra 8 gigabytes of virtual memory that I set aside from the internal storage is working. This thing handles every app. It keeps all apps open all day, which you can't do on a frickin' Pixel. And for this thing, I can hit recent apps and just everything that I didn't close is open. I can switch back to any of them without Android background processes or whatever the Pixel background processes are shutting down my apps, so I have to reopen everything. Finally, I really feel like I've gone back to the HTC One again, which is the only smartphone I was ever truly satisfied with. The Moto G54 is finally filling that niche again. And there are things that would be nicer, I guess. Like, yeah, if the display was AMOLED, like, that would probably be cooler. But again, the 120 hertz refresh rate, so far, I love the screen. I love the form factor. I did not like the Pixel 6 asymmetrical balance. It's only 20 or 40 grams heavier than the Moto I have. But because the camera sticks out from the top, it feels like twice as heavy because there's so much more leverage from the weight. It's much easier to hold this, and it feels nicer. The form factor, the whole phone is smoother and slimmer. Even though it's bigger, it feels more controllable. Much more. Like, I find it much easier to hold one hand and use the phone than I did with the Google Pixel 6. And it doesn't heat up. I can be downloading stuff, switch to my note-taking app and type stuff, go onto the web browser, go have like 20, 40 tabs open, switch between those at will. I can switch between every frickin' app on the phone. They'll all be in recent apps still, because I just set it to not turn off anything and not restrict background usage. And I did that constantly on the Pixel 6, and it doesn't work. The Pixel 6 just keeps closing everything and ignores your battery usage rules. The Moto I set the option once, and they haven't changed, at least in, 8 or 9 days so far. It just takes the options I give it, and it doesn't get hot. I have done as much work on it as I have done on other things. Drawing, there's this drawing program I do, and that, on the Pixel 6, devoured my battery when I was doing art, designing a t-shirt or drawing a comic or whatever. I love this app, Infinite Painter. And devoured the battery on the Pixel 6. And I think the Pixel 6 either has they're about the same size battery. The battery on this Moto lasts so much longer. And I'm sure it's because it doesn't have all the background shit and all the bloatware that the Pixel 6 had. This thing is so slim and efficient. I have no need for anything but the stock OS so far. The stock OS is totally fine for me. It's entirely customizable. And you can add as much as you want on, but there's basically nothing on it except for the core, like there's a camera. Also, camera. You can just uninstall the core camera app, which definitely not a great camera app, but there's all the other ones online you can choose from. You just download it, install it, boom. And so I didn't like the stock camera app. I downloaded a new one, and then I was just like, I can do everything else. Maybe I can just uninstall this. And the stock camera app uninstalls just like any other app. So it's just so simple to use and so simple to swap out, and it just is user-friendly. Like, there's no secure environments not letting you do what you want to do with your phone, like run an efficient machine. This thing just runs. It's great. Yeah, so easier to hold. The screen's at least as good. I think much smoother than the Pixel 6. There's a pretty high PPI too. It's about the same as the Pixel 6. It's like 441 or something, which is also what the HTC One was. And then ever since then, I've gone down to like 396, 340 with the other HTCs. And I knew whatever the next one was, I needed a higher PPI. That's partly why I chose the Pixel 6, but that was the only thing it had going for it. And the refresh rate sucked on the Pixel 6. What else with the frickin' Pixel 6? Oh, just the build itself. My Pixel 6, I said I had to return it, and then the new one like rattled. This one just feels like a phone, like a solid piece of construction. The phone case isn't stupid slippery. It's smooth, but it doesn't fall off of any not completely flat surface, which the glass Pixel 6 just slid off everything to the point that I had to put a sticker on the back of it to add some texture so it wouldn't slide off everything. I'm not afraid I'm going to drop this phone all the time. Oh, and the price. This was less than 25% of the Pixel. The Pixel was like $650 when it came out, and this is $150. And this has eSIM, which the Pixel had. The Moto also has expandable storage, which the Pixel did not have. 128 gigabytes of memory? Shut up, Pixel. So I already got a 256 expandable storage, so I can put all of my music on there. And offline Wikipedia, which I used to have on the HTC One, but the other phones I had, I don't know, some of them didn't have expandable storage, and it just, this phone, I can put my offline Wikipedia and my giant music library, which I am liking so much more than streaming all that crap. Maybe it's just because I don't have Spotify, or maybe it's because I travel. So, and I just don't like having to be connected to the internet to, on a whim, just choose the song I like and play it. I love having an offline music library. I can't believe I've been without an online music library now for like 2-3 years, whatever, since I got the Pixel. Yeah, it's so great to be back to that. And I have so much more space. I have 512 gigabytes total now, so I can download all of my podcasts and everything, and they're just there, and I can just play them now. Everything's offline, local. It's wonderful. The operations are crazy too. Like, it just, it's so fast, and it doesn't get hot, and it just keeps working so far. I mean, it's been a week. I'm sure it'll slow down as time goes on, but again, it cost $150. So if whatever, after a year, I can do a factory reset, put everything on the SD card, restart it and see if it's fast again, or I can just get whatever the next model is going to be in a year, because they put out a new one every month. If it's just going to be this, but better. I'm so blown away by how good this phone is. And when that first day I got it, I was already blown away, but I was like, maybe I'll notice something I don't like. The camera software was the only thing, and I just uninstalled it like any other app, and I am trying different cameras now, and I've already found one that works fine, but they all have that purpley tinge, which is partly due to the software, or the hardware, apparently. But I don't use the camera that much anyway, and it's fine in highlight situations, and it's not terrible in low light situations, so it doesn't bother me much at all. And there's a bunch of forums dedicated to the G54 camera. I just, like I said, I don't use it that much, so I'm not too worried about fixing a slight purpley tinge yet. The only reason I noticed and got rid of the stock app was because my face was super red, and it looked weird. The front camera looked normal, but the selfie camera, and this is what all the forums say, it's terrible. So the selfie camera apparently does bad skin tones. But the new camera I had, pretty normal. Looks pretty normal to me. Maybe a little red, but much better camera. And all I had to do was uninstall the old one, install the new one, like any other app. Yeah, so if you're on a Pixel and it's frustrating, can't recommend a Moto phone for $150 or whatever. It's so worth it. And I looked on Amazon. This model's even cheaper on there. They have like $130. Except mine was new, and I think the $130 were refurbished, but maybe they were new. I don't know. If you want a good phone, I like this phone. I like this phone a lot. It's so fast, and it's so efficient and fucking cool. And I like the virtual memory. I think it's doing something because, like I said, it's fast. It just handles everything. Okay, let's move on. Oh, Subnautica? What? I must have mentioned that before, right? There's a second Subnautica game already out. I didn't realize it. It was supposed to be an expansion. They made it into a full game, Below Zero. I had a lot of fun playing it. I already zoomed through most of it, I think. So I kind of am taking a break because I want to get out a few more episodes I have in mind. I've been recording podcasts, and then I'm trying to eat every freaking restaurant in this neighborhood. But yeah, Subnautica, the other game's really fun too, and then they're going to come out with the official Subnautica 2, another game next year, so that'll be fun. Still loving playing with the video game controller I got. Makes playing video games so much more fun. Man, I got those sushi tacos again, the nori tacos, with a black pale ale. And I don't really like black pale ales. This was delicious. Animal Brew, right next to Sushi Miyagi here in Panama City. And I took a sip and I was like, holy, it's gonna be perfect. And it was perfect with the nori tacos, which I haven't gotten in a few days because I've been trying the other stuff on the menu, but I'm holding off. They are selling caviar at 50% off in the supermarket right next to me, and it's good caviar. So I got a bunch, and I ate so much fish eggs that I didn't need to go eat more sushi. But I'm definitely going to get the nori tacos next time I go to Sushi Miyagi, which is going to be in 2 days. I already have a plan. I'm going to go there, and then he does that Korean bread cake fish with chocolate inside, and I'm going to eat that too. But those sushi tacos, I had the black pale ale with them, and it was such a good meal. Very, very delicious. Just got one beer. It was good. Those beers are $5 or $6 or something. Well, whatever. It was worth it for the experience that time. It was delicious. It was a good, fun time. I tried Sugoi sushi because I was like, I should try the other ones. Let's see how they are. And dog shit. The rice was, the fish was okay. The fish was not terrible, but it wasn't as fresh as Miyagi. And the rice was dog shit. It was dry and crunchy and crappy. I'm not going to keep going to these freaking half-ass sushi restaurants when I know there's a good one. There is one other good one that I was supposed to go back to, but in between going to it the first time and going back to it, I found Sushi Miyagi, and the flavors are so much better there, and the rice is better at his place. And this other place is owned by a Japanese family, so maybe I just got unlucky that first time. But their fish was very good. You know, another weird thing about Panama is the pricing of bags of chips. So you can have a small bag that's 100 grams for $1, and then a large bag that's 200 grams for $5. So if you just buy 2 of the small bags, then you get 200 grams for $2. Or you buy the big bag of 200 grams and it's $5. So you could just buy 5 of the small bags and get more than twice as much of the snacks. It's not every single thing, but a lot of the platanitas, the plantanos do that. The potato chips do that. If you just buy a few of the small ones, you get more than if you just buy a big one for more money. And they're not all 5 to 1, but you're easily saving $1 if you buy 2 of these versus the one big bag for $1 more. And it's right there, so why not get the small ones? I don't know why they do it, but you know what? I like that they do it because all I have to do is look at the numbers and I'm like, okay, I'll just get these ones then and save $1 that I can use on nori taco. Ooh, offline music. So I have a lot of comedy CDs I like, well, that's not true, but I have a few comedy CDs I really like, and I have listened to Tom Hardy for the first time in a year, and his stuff's so funny. Red Flags, human centipede. He just has a lot of everyday situations that he finds funny, and he communicates them very well through song. Maybe if you know Bo Burnham, he's an Australian thing. That's the style of comedy, a musical observational comedy thing. But he's from Australia. And Smokin' Joe, about a gunslinger who uses the middle fingers. that God gave him to defeat his enemies. Really funny. If you like funny music, I would say go get some Tom Cardy. And I'm very excited. I'm going to get Flight of the Conchord again soon offline because they are so freaking funny. And I've had them forever. I've been listening to them since the show came out, which, if you have not seen Flight of the Conchords, the TV show, you have to go watch that. It's so funny. I assume I haven't watched it in a very long time, but I bet it's just as funny as when I watched it the first time. I watched through both seasons of it, or 3, or however many. I think there's only 2. 10 times? Many times. Love all the songs. Yeah, I'm going to get those soundtracks back on my phone. Oh, I have something to talk about with Star Trek. One of the biggest outliers in terms of not actually being an egalitarian society on Star Trek, which I will say they do very well. They try to advocate for civil rights and equality in a reasonable, civil way as much as possible on Star Trek. But all of the women wear caked on makeup, and it looks bad. Like, their faces are a different color than even their neck, because they just have so much makeup on. And they make such painstaking efforts in Star Trek The Next Generation, anyway, to make everything else egalitarian and respectful of all people, regardless of race or religion or culture. But every time a woman, well, usually, very often, when a main cast member or a main character woman comes on set, just completely caked on, super heavy makeup. And it's, none of the men are wearing makeup that heavy. I also, disclaimer, have a problem with makeup. I personally don't like powders and I don't like oils. So makeup in general is kind of not my thing. So maybe I'm more sensitive to seeing it than normal humans. But yeah, it's just funny because it's such an egalitarian society and the writing is great. I finally got onto the 3rd season. I am enjoying it a lot. Although I would say a couple of the episodes in the 1st and 2nd seasons, I would put them on the list for must watch. Not a lot of them, but certainly a few. I'm not sure why they wouldn't be on the should watch list. They're probably on someone's. How many should watch lists are there? There's probably 1 billion of them. So I don't like makeup anyway, but I think it looks especially silly on the Star Trek women in an otherwise egalitarian society where mutual respect is incredibly important and not judging someone on their appearance. And they have warrior women and women in command posts and, commanders of vessels and all that. But they all still have to work to put on powder and oil on their faces to present themselves to everybody else. And they don't really address that. I think makeup was so, especially for women, was so accepted in American society when they were making the show that just didn't really come up, even though it kind of belies the otherwise egalitarian nature of the show. Oh, I have a list of just a bunch of stuff that I can't really find a specific podcast to put them into, but I think are short, interesting things to talk about. So I think rather than building a whole podcast out of one little event, which I will do with other stuff, I'm just going to talk about them on the Ramble On podcast. And one of them is this soccer game I played on the beach in Essaouira. Essaouira is a surfing town on the northwestern coast of Morocco. And I stayed there for a long time. That was like 3 months or something. And I was primarily hanging out with these 2 girls. We were a cool little trio of friends, and we went to different restaurants and whatever. And I had a crush on one of them, and she didn't have a crush on me, but we were still friendly. And it was just cool having someone to hang out with and see all these new cool sights all the time. I just found this video where we were all sitting on the edge just watching the waves crash into what was basically a tiny castle, like a little fort that we were all standing on. And I went back there very often after they introduced me to that. But anyway, I was in Essaouira, and some guys on the beach invited me to play soccer with them. I was still barely I was like 32 or something at the time. Total guess. I'm terrible with time. But it was early 30s, and I was used to being very in shape because I jogged all the time and I exercised fairly regularly. But I don't think I realized how much beer and how much not exercising had taken a toll on me since I started on that trip, which was right after the first 3 years teaching English, I believe. I was drinking a bunch and I wasn't exercising like I usually did, even though in my head I was like, yeah, I still exercise every day, but I didn't exercise every day. So they invited me to a soccer game on the beach. And I was like, oh man, that is going to be difficult because it's the beach. Running on sand is not easy. And all of these dudes looked like soccer underwear models. They were like sculpted from stone, and it looked like they just ran 20,000 miles per day and then played soccer after they had finished their 20,000 miles. And I played, and my first thought when I saw them running, I was like, how are they doing that? They made running across the soccer field, which is like 6 inches of sand, look like they were running on grass, on turf. It was crazy. They were just running through it effortlessly. And I was exerting all of my energy. I was using up my reserves constantly, just trying to keep pace with the rest of them. And I made one cool move, and I think scored a goal. Or maybe I passed it to a guy and he scored a goal, because I can't imagine I made it that far. But I like juked a guy out and got around him, and everyone's like, oh. And then right after that, I was like, well, that was the only cool thing I'm going to do. Like, that was my one move. I couldn't really juke them. I did. I misdirected a couple times, but after like 5 minutes, let's say 10 minutes, maybe, I was just ragged. I didn't stop playing, but I was panting. And like when you're really tired and you've really been sprinting for a long time, or me anyway, I get a different taste in my mouth. Like, it's like I'm smelling the fumes that I'm running on because all of my energy is gone. And I felt that after, 10 minutes maybe. And I was tired after 5 minutes. But after 10, I was like, oop, I'm running ragged now. And I just kept going. And we played for like 30 minutes, and it was fun because they were all good at soccer and I wasn't too bad. But it was also crazy. Like, I felt the extra layer of beer fat on top of my muscles, like shaking while I was running around. And I was like, oh my God, I'm fat now. And it was a fun game, but I had to quit after like 20 minutes. I was like, okay, thank you so much. That was awesome. Okay. And I left and I was like, wow. Okay, I didn't do too bad. I played like 20-minute game. I wasn't the first one to stop playing, considering you're running on sand. And it was fun. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, all right, my legs don't even feel that bad. And then the second day I woke up after the game, I was so sore. And then I was just sore for like 2 weeks after that straight. Like, running around in sand is insane. That was so difficult, and it was a lot of fun. And it's this really cool memory I have because I couldn't believe the fitness of these guys. No wonder they were all cut. They had 0 calories left because they played this kind of soccer for hours. They probably played for a couple hours after I left. And some of them, not all of them, but some of them weren't even panting. Some of them were just hopping gracefully and running through the sand nonstop. Others were like panting like I was, and some people were in between. But there were a few elite players who were just like they were running on grass. And I would, if I was playing on grass, I'd probably be breathing pretty hard too. But these guys were totally fine, untouchable, in this sand soccer field. It was crazy. So I'm rebuilding my offline music library because thank goodness, like I said, I finally can listen to my music offline because I have enough storage. And something I'm adding is all of the Nightmare Before Christmas in different languages. What's this? What's this? I really like that song, and I really like Sally's song, the Fiona Apple cover especially. It's great. But I listened to What's This in a whole bunch of different languages, and there's like 2 of them that are really good. I think it was Italian, maybe, was one of them. But the Chinese one is super weird to listen to because it's such a harsh language. And There's Something in the Air is so melodic and stretched out. So it's really interesting to see how the Chinese interpreted that song. And so I'm going to get a whole bunch of the different language versions of What's This, and then a few of the other songs I like, just for fun, just to have them because I can finally fit them on the phone. Oh, I have this water bottle that I have to replace because it says made in China. It's like stamped into the metal on the bottom of the water bottle. And the water bottle's fine. I've been cleaning it. When minerals build up, I pour in white vinegar and then leave it sitting, and the white vinegar eats away all the minerals growing up, lodging themselves on the sides and crystallizing on the inside of the water bottle. Just gets rid of that really easily. So I did that, but I noticed that the bottom of the bottle was wet, and I was like, what? And I held it up to the light and looked into the water bottle, and where the Made in China was stamped out, there were holes in the bottle. And I had noticed a little leak like a couple countries ago, but I don't use that thing that much. I don't really carry it around with me outside, that water bottle, as often as I used to. But that Made in China completely demolished the integrity of the bottle. Looking into the bottle, I could see light through the bottom of it where the Made in China stamp was stamped on the bottom of it. So that was too bad, because otherwise it is a great water bottle, and it holds a lot, but it's thin and it's plain aluminum. There's no dumb design or anything. I really liked it. The water was a good seal on top. The cap kept a good seal. But oh well, whatever. Time to get a new one. But there's a bunch of... Curious about the markets, because there's no secondhand markets or like local markets like flea markets, open air markets here in Panama City. So I'm sure there are, but I don't know about them. They're certainly not where I am in the more middle of the city. But I bet Colombia has a bunch, so I'm excited to go to some open air markets again. The tin can tabs instead of soda can tabs are working pretty good. I should check how much time it was. The first one, I kicked something finally, and it bent the tin can tab to the point that I just replaced it, even though it hadn't broken yet. But they are lasting much longer than the soda can tabs. And I found another one today. There was a abandoned anchovy bottle, tin can. And since it has been raining so much, there was no oil left on it, so I just popped off the tin and put it in my pocket. Now I have an extra one. But it's great because I know there are tin cans and tins all around. And yeah, so I just pop off the little tin. And when I decided to replace the one today, it took me like a minute to cut the threads, sew on the new one. Oh, you know what's really cool? For my sewing kit, I got I mentioned this already, right? Shoe shine tin, and I just cleaned it out and then put all my sewing kit in there. So it's a way smaller. I'm saving a lot of space by putting it in a shoe can tin, and it works great. The only sound is it rattles in there because it's a tin can. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Oh, I got to go get that backpack then. I was going to line the tin with a little bit of fabric so it didn't rattle so much. That's a good idea. But I just threw away the backpack, so I'm going to go dig it out of the trash. I mean, it's on top of a cardboard box that I put in there, so I'm going to go get it now before someone throws actual trash in there instead of just cardboard. Got it. So I've had a regular-sized pink backpack for, I don't know, the past year or so, and I got it the last time I was in Taiwan. I really like it. It folds up nice, and it's a full-size backpack instead of the Decathlon one I had for so long. But it also was not as strong as the Decathlon one, so it was kind of already falling apart a while ago, and I've had to repatch and fix it up several times. And it looks pretty hobo. It's really falling apart. So I just went to the decathlon here, and they had the decathlon bag that lasted for like 10 years, the little mini bag, and that also folds up into its own pocket. And it's just a great little bag, and it was $4. They had them on sale for $3, the two colors that people don't like. And then the color that I liked, blue and black, was on sale for $4. And I was like, it's $1 more. And so I have a new decathlon backpack that I really like. I've already modified it so that the tabs are a little wider and easier to loosen or tighten the bag itself. But I see why I kept it so long. I mean, it feels like nothing, like you're carrying that. Even when the backpack is completely full of stuff, it's so light that it's incredibly comfortable to wear. It's just a great bag. So I'm happy to have a new bag. So I've got to get rid of the pink one, but I used the straps from the pink one to widen the straps on the new Decathlon bag so it's easier to tighten and loosen, just with my hands flipping up my thumbs to make the straps tighter or looser. And then I'm going to use some of the fabric from the pink one. I'll just throw that in the sewing kit, and then, yeah, it should rattle around less, so that's perfect. I remember I was going to do that, and I was, right before I threw away the pink backpack, I was like, wait a minute, wasn't I going to use this for something? I can't remember. And then threw it on top of that cardboard box. But, yeah, it's 4:45 in the morning, so no one was awake to throw more trash on top of it before I got it. And now I can use that fabric and then throw it away again. I started playing Tetris Elements. I saw a post about it on Lemmy, and apparently there are tons of Tetris mods, like variations on classic Tetris, which I wasn't aware of. I knew there were some, but there are thousands. There are so many. There's this one they were writing about called Tetris Elements, and they have 6 game modes, one classic, and then the others are like Meteor. And meteors crash down into your Tetris blocks. And so they'll take the place of a shape you wanted or destroy what you were working on and, leave behind a blank, so you have to fill it all up again. And there's icicles, which will fall on the pieces, and so you can't choose where your piece goes. If the icicle hits it, it'll just take it straight down to the bottom. There's a whole bunch. It's really fun. There's Tempest and there's Earthquake. That one's pretty fun too. It's fun. I had a lot of fun playing Tetris again. I was like, well, I'll just try out and see what it goes. And then 30 minutes went by. And I was like, wow, Tetris is fun. What a simple, perfect human game Tetris is. I finally finished a comic I wrote the script for a year ago or something. So that was pretty satisfying because I have a list of stuff to do and it's getting longer. And I worked pretty hard last year to whittle it down, but I haven't worked on it much this year. And so I got a bunch of stuff, but one of them, 2 or 3 years old. It's an old idea for a comic, and I want to start drawing comics again. And so finally the other day I was like, just do it. And I drew a very, very rough sketch in my notepad, which is how I do most of my illustrations now. And then I take a picture of it on my phone because the app I like to use for drawing, Infinite Painter, is on my phone. So rough sketch, take a picture, and then do all the ink and color and everything really on Infinite Painter, which is a very fun app to use and very easy to use pretty accurately. I've designed all of my t-shirts that way, all of the covers for books, illustrations in general. It's a great app, Infinite Painter. If you like any kind of art and you like the idea of doing it conveniently on a mobile device, that's the one I prefer. I find it very intuitive compared to other drawing apps too. Not everything is intuitive, but the toolbars, the default toolbars they have, and when you click on something, it opens up into a sub-menu. It seems pretty logical to me. And the tools are pretty comprehensive, but they're also pretty basic. There's no mistaking the tool in GIMP, I often have a very difficult time finding a very simple idea, like get a border, expand the border of something. I have to figure out the exact right steps to do it in, or it doesn't do it. And I find Infinite Painter as much as I tap it, I have the selection, and I click expand or grow, whatever. Yeah, it just seems very intuitive. I like that app. So let me tell you about this comic, because I finally finished it. I'm happy. I'm just going to describe it to you, which is funny because I finally drew it, and now I'm just going to tell you what it is. So the first panel is a little girl on top of a small bureau, and she's in front of their goldfish in a bowl, and she's tapping the water with her finger, saying, "Come on, fishy." And then in the second panel, the fish swims up and kind of nudges her finger, like, "Hello." And in the third panel, the girl takes out her hand and goes, "Ew, haha," and she's laughing. And then the fourth panel is there's no one in the room, but the goldfish bowl has been pushed onto the floor, and there's just cracked glass and water and the goldfish on the floor, which is kind of sad, and I felt bad drawing it in. But that was the idea for the comic, and I think it matches my humor just right. So that's the comic that I finally made. Worth the 3-year setup. Star Trek clone episode I wrote here next. What is that? They made it a pretty... Oh, there's a clone colony, and the clones want genetic material from anyone, literally any regular human being, so that their cloning genetic stock doesn't decay. They can basically renew the cloning process, and everyone will be healthy again for a while. And they make, like, the show writers and the main characters, Picard and what are their other... Jonathan Frakes, Riker, Deanna Troi, everybody. They make a pretty big deal about, no one of us would lend our genetic DNA to you. We wouldn't allow you to make copies of us. We're unique. And I was like, I would definitely do it. And there's like thousands of people on that ship. The clones only ask 3 of them, and the captain's like, no. And no one on this ship would do it. And I was like, you should maybe let them ask the other people. I don't think everyone's gonna mind having clones of themselves made. Like, why? Who cares? There's just more of me. That sounds great. Like, I would, if there was a clone colony and they were like, we need fresh DNA, I'd be like, yeah, take what you need. I'd love to see me again. Go for it. I don't mind. That's definitely the most ego-driven theme in Star Trek I've seen so far. That a colony is decaying, like physically dying, and you won't give them a piece of your hair so that they can continue their colony. Yeah, it's weird, sure, but especially in that universe, everything is weird. Why not let a clone colony exist? 50 Picards or 50 Jeff the janitors. Let Jeff the janitor give his DNA to the clone people. They would be just as happy for Jeffs as they would with Picards. All they need is fresh DNA. I just thought that was a very close-minded episode considering how open-minded the rest of them is. Speaking of Star Trek, Pamela Adlon is in one of the episodes, one of the 3rd season episodes. And I saw this. They're a Vulcan-type alien. And she was so tiny, and her voice sounded like Pamela Adlon's. And I thought, that's pretty cool. Like, it sounds like, and I was like, wait, does that have to be? And it is. That's Pamela Adlon playing some Vulcan-y alien in Star Trek The Next Generation. Like, she's young in this. She's got to be 20, 23, 25. Like, she looks really young. So she's been, I didn't know she was acting 35 years ago or whatever. She got some acting cred. I feel like there's a lot of famous people, like Leland Palmer from Twin Peaks. He's also in that same episode. There's so many famous actors in Star Trek, and I feel like if you were in something like The Next Generation, you have some real acting cred that you can be like, yeah, I was in season 3, episode 3, Star Trek Next Generation. Yeah, I did that. I feel like other actors are kind of like, damn, I wish I could have gotten in on that while it was going. So it's always fun to see these actors I know from today, 40 years ago in this show, or 30 years ago, I guess, right? It was in the 90s. Oh, here a lot of the service workers say like muy amable or mi amor. And I still, whenever a service worker says, sí, mi amor, which is yes, my love, to me, I'm like, oh, thank you. That's so nice of you. Like my heart flutters every time because my Western English speaking brain isn't used to someone saying my love to me. But that's a pretty common thing. You hear it a lot, but it's so funny. Like I blush and I'm like, oh, you, every time like a pretty girl waitress is like, here's your pizza. Thank you. Of course, mi amor. I'm like, oh my God. Amor? We barely know each other, Gabrielle. Recently, one of the points I don't think I made clear on one of the episodes of the podcast, maybe I fixed this already. Yeah, I did. But I'll put it in here because I talk about English teaching a lot as the de facto alternative to working in the United States because it just solves all of those problems. Maybe English teaching, maybe teaching English is not your dream job, but it's pretty unlikely that the job you have now is your dream job. So if you don't have your dream job already, why not move to the country of your dreams? Why not move to an interesting country, make money, and then start on your career with all the free time you'll have for your dream job? Start applying and getting a foot in the door in that while you're making money and have more free time by teaching English. It's just, yeah, if you don't already have your dream job, maybe English isn't it, but it'll certainly facilitate your transfer to a job you'll appreciate more because you'll have about twice as much free time because you'll be working half the normal hours and you'll be saving a ton of money if you move to the country you're teaching in. So yeah, save money and whatever, even if it's not your dream job, unless you're doing your dream job right now, it still gives you a bunch of benefits to start traveling and working instead of working in the United States. Guess what I found? I found a $90 ticket to Colombia. So I will be going to Medellin, and I don't like cocaine very much, so I'm not going to do any of that. And also, I looked up the stats, and Colombia is still ranked really low, but it looks like that's like a legacy safety rating in the world. The actual homicide rate is lower than a lot of American cities. Like all of the violent crime is either America's or lower now. They've really been cracking down. They're trying to get tourists in there for the past decade and a half. So it seems, by the numbers, it seems just as safe as any other place. And, you know, they don't have mass shootings everywhere, so that part's a lot safer than the States also. So Colombia here sounds great. And I've met a whole bunch of Colombians because it borders Panama, so there's a bunch here in Panama City. And they all are cool, and they all talk about how wonderful Medellin is and how much they love Colombia. So I'm going to... Also, I love Lido Pimienta, this Colombian singer who I was introduced to through the show Tuca and Birdie. She has the song, Eso que tú haces, eso que tú haces. And it's just this great song about relationship dynamics and how it's difficult to be in a relationship with someone trying to control you because that's not love. So I listened to Lido Pimienta a lot, and yeah, I found that ticket to Colombia, and I was almost going to stay in Panama for another 3 months and just use up my whole visa here, but it's been 3 months. I've seen most everything. I've started to learn Spanish a little bit better. I can talk to some people if they speak really slow for my stupid brain. And it just feels I have been here a while. It's been almost 3 months. That's as long as I like to stay in a country. And here's a great ticket to a country I am interested in. And I got it. and I'm going. I also realized that I love the Encanto soundtrack, and that's sort of set in Colombia. And I love the song that this Colombian singer sings about Colombia, from Encanto, also Encanto. So it'll be really cool going to Colombia. I think it's going to be a lot different, a lot like going back to Guatemala. But all the Colombians I talk to say that it is super cheap, but it's also very advanced. Like, it's basically like Panama City, just a ton cheaper. But they say there's lots more traditional cultural displays, like people dancing in the streets and stuff. So I'm very excited to go. I almost went to Costa Rica instead, but Costa Rica does just seem like a modern country, and that's what I went to Panama for. So now I gotta step back into the local town, village sort of thing going on again. Also, it's a domestic flight, so I don't know. This is going to be very interesting. I'll tell you about it when I get there. Excited. I'm very excited, though. I'm excited to see a new country. Oh, also, I found out that they're higher elevation than Denver, Medellin. So it's a mountain town with like perfect weather all year long, and it's cooler, so I'll get to wear shoes again and look not as hobo tourist as I do in hotter climates because I'm always wearing shorts, t-shirt, and sandals. I'll finally have pants, shoes, and then Bogota is actually like 8,600 feet. So it's very high. That's high. That's altitude sickness high for sure. That's the beginning of Everest high. That's a high city. So that's pretty exciting. So I feel like if I go to Colombia, if I make it to Medellin, I might stay in Medellin a couple months. I have a good feeling about this city. I found a cool apartment and Airbnb, and it just seems like I'm gonna enjoy it. Shouldn't psych myself up too much. But if I like it, I'll probably go to Bogota too, because I really want to go to an 8,600, 2,500 meter high city. That seems crazy. Like, do they even have trees that high? I don't know. I'm not sure. The tree line's like 10,000 feet, but that's pretty close. 8,600, 8,700 feet. Pretty excited to go explore this stuff. They have a whole city up there, so there must be trees up there. Yeah. But there's not going to be any bugs. I won't mind that. There are cockroaches in this PH. And I have not bought a roach hotel, little cardboard glue traps, since I got here. And I've been thinking about buying one since the first day, and I should have just bought one because it's stupid not to improve the quality of my stay. And I did other little things, like I replaced the soap so I don't have to wait a couple days for them to replace the soap and that kind of stuff. Should just put down a glue trap for those dirty-ass roaches, though, so I didn't have to deal with that every day. Just gross. I didn't even have to do anything. They're just gross. Colombia. Encanto. I have the Encanto soundtrack offline now as well. I'm going to be listening to that on my next walkabout. It's so nice just listening to music again without having to log into anything or know that the service is providing me whatever. I just want the MP3s on my frickin' phone, okay? Or I guess they're M4As now is the popular codec. No, is that video? Who cares? Anyway, I got the Encanto soundtrack, and that's probably my favorite Disney movie right now because the music is so good. I love all 8 songs. All 8 songs are very good, but I clicked with Surface Pressure, sung by Jessica Darrow, the big strong sister in the movie. That song is so good. I listened to it 100 times. You guys should listen to it too. It has great themes, and I like it. Oh, I've been trying to get all the rest of the restaurants that I haven't gone to for whatever reason. So I went to this chicken place. It was fine. It's chicken. They had good patacones, though. I went to a taco place, and I got the cow tongue. It was like marinated cow tongue, avocado, a little bit of cheese, some other type of meat, with a tomato sauce. And you could choose from 4 sauces. I got the super spicy sauce, and then a little ramekin of the tomato sauce. And dude, the tomato sauce, that's so good. Creamy, spicy, lots of herbs with a strong tomato base. but you can still taste the spice. It's such a good, balanced, creamy tomato sauce. I have to go back there. I was so impressed by the cow tongue marinade because it was clearly a slow marinated, slow cooked tongue. When you cook it like that, it's not chewy. It's just a perfect meat. And this was made. I was so impressed by how they cooked the meat. It was delicious. It was absolutely delicious. And the tomato sauce was the best tomato sauce I've had in literal years. The food here is really good. I might regret leaving Panama if my options are more limited. But why don't I go there first and see? Maybe there'll be a bunch of good stuff there. Except it's 5,000 feet up or whatever, so they're not going to have as good sushi, I'm assuming. But we'll see. Oh, and pizza. Oh my gosh, there's this Italian pizza place. Of course, everybody says they're Italian-style pizza, but this place is. They blacken the crust on the bottom just enough so it's not really burnt. It's just supposed to be burnt like that in an Italian pizza because it adds a bitterness because tomato sauce is so sweet on its own that the black char adds a really good flavor to it. Like you need that bitterness to mix in with the tomato. And that's how these guys do it. It's not burnt, but it is blackened on the bottom. It's not unpleasantly burnt. It is blackened on the bottom, the crust, and the tomato sauce is perfect. And I got the Siciliana, so you have anchovies, capers, Kalamata olives, and something else? Mushrooms? There was something else on it. I don't think it was mushrooms. But I was absolutely blown away. The anchovies they also tasted like Italian anchovies. Very strong fishy taste. They didn't just taste like bland pieces of salt. These tasted like real anchovies. It was so good with the capers and the Kalamata olives. Oh man. The Kalamata olives were the only parts I was like, you could have got better olives. But the pizza itself, and as a whole especially, was delicious. I devoured it. So I'm going back there tomorrow to try a different one because I was so impressed by this pizza place. It tasted as good as any pizza I've ever had. It was not as good as the pizzas I make. I make really good pizzas, and I make really good pizza sauce. And I like my pizza sauce spicy and herby and stuff. But I'll say these pizzas, they surprised me. They were so good. I gave them a thumbs up. And speaking of thumbs up, I don't like it when people respond to written comments with a thumbs up and no accompanying message. Now, that's because I'm an old man. But more charitably, the thumbs up emoji, like after you write out a long message and the person just does thumbs up, it's like they're telling, Robot Butler, just send my regards. But less charitably and perhaps reflecting more accurately how I feel about the thumbs up emoji, especially with no accompanying message. They just thumbs up. It just feels like someone throwing a raspberry. Like they give you a thumbs up and you're telling them, oh, I just read this really great book called The Night Circus by Aaron Morgenstern. It's about these two fantastical, surrealistic people who meet, and it's set inside this world where magic is almost real. And I just loved it. I know you like fantasy books, so you should probably check this out. It's such a great romance. And then you get a thumbs up emoji. That's what it feels like. Someone goes in response and shoves out their thumb at you at the same time. Or it's like, imagine you were sitting next to your friend on the park bench and you're telling them about the night circus. And you're like, there's this amazing part where a glass forest they've redone an entire room of the circus to look like a glass forest. It's beautiful. And the person sitting next to you just puts up a thumb, but doesn't say anything in response. That's how it feels to me. I don't know. I don't think I do messages like everyone else because I treat them like real conversations. And I feel like conversations on the phone, people just treat them like notifications. Like, they treat any carefully thought out idea or message as just another notification, like their phone's like, in 15 minutes, walk the dog. And then your message is like the exact same response. Thumbs up. Okay. thumbs up, but like fucking whatever. Since we're on me being an old ranting man, how do I know I'm getting older? I mean, clearly I look physically the same as I was 25. Not true. But I was just talking to a younger person, like obviously younger than me, just physically, and they were asking me questions about why I traveled and how I travel and all this stuff, and we're talking about how much it sucks that America has mass shootings all the time, because he works in the United States. And he was like, it's so weird that Americans don't care, like all the kids are getting shot. And I was like, that is weird. I agree. I don't know why they're not more responsive to their children being shot every day. And I was like, it's a little crazier though. Did you know anything about USA veterans? I don't know if you know this, listener, but veterans kill themselves every hour in the United States. One US veteran, like a military veteran, or another, is shooting themselves and killing themselves about every 60 minutes. The latest, I think, was 65 minutes was the last tally they did. I don't know if they stopped releasing the numbers because it's so depressing. You can find the accurate thing now. But about once an hour, there's about 22 military U.S. veterans killing themselves every year, either from brain injury, CTEs. They have zero support, so many of them are homeless. It's something like a 50+% rate of homelessness for military vets? For U.S. military vets. Other countries treat their veterans with a little bit of respect and support. Not so in the States, unfortunately. If you don't know that stat, I'm sure it sounds pretty shocking and maybe unbelievable to you, but you can look it up. They've done several studies. And the lowest is, I believe, 22 veterans committing suicide per day. But another study was like, well, have you looked into someone self-medicating with alcohol and that leads to cirrhosis and death? And when they add those in, rather than only direct suicide, a gun to the head or hanging, maybe the wrists, when they add in something like drinking yourself to death or drug abuse until you die, it goes up to 44. Veterans per day are dying from some self-harming activity. 44 a day, so almost 2 veterans every hour are killing themselves in the US because they have no support from their government. Just wild, just totally crazy. So I was talking about that with this young kid, and he would say something to me and be looking at me, and then I would say something back to him, and then in the middle of my sentence, his head would drop to his phone and he'd just stare at his phone. And I didn't even know if I was supposed to stop talking or if I should just keep talking and people just don't look at each other anymore. Because I know I'm living in the modern world. I know that people look at their phones more than they look at people. But is it totally normal to just look at your phone now, especially with younger kids? A lot of the people I talk to are older, but I feel like especially with younger people, when they're interacting with someone, it doesn't even change the focus of their attention if they look down at their phone while they're talking to another person. And it's okay. You can do that, young people. I'm fine with the younger generation doing anything because at least they care about other people on the internet. I feel like younger people are more progressive on issues I actually care about. So if they deal with rationalizing a harmful society by staring at their phone, like they're more nervous about eye contact with a real person, but they care about saving the environment and maybe preventing all of these suicides in their country or whatever, great. People act differently. I'm not going to start ranting at younger generations for doing younger generational things. Go ahead and twerk. I'm just kidding. I know twerking is like 15 years old now. Twerking probably isn't even cool anymore, right? You guys don't even say that. What is twerk now? What do they call it now? Who knows? It was a good word though, twerk. I think that's why I caught on so well, because it's just such a fun word to say. I don't know if you're having as much fun listening to me say twerk as I am having to say, as I'm enjoying saying the word twerk. but you're welcome. Yeah, so this guy kept looking down at his phone whenever I talked, and then he'd look back up and continue the conversation. And I was kind of thrown off by that, but whatever. He's probably like donating money, like playing some game that gives food to poor. He's probably doing some great new thing with the internet while I'm just trying to share my opinion about Rosa de Jamaica juice or some stupid thing. You play on your phone, young Colombian who recommended Bogota to me. Also, I have to say, US Americans, I know maybe it doesn't seem like it from inside your borders, but from outside US borders, it very much looks like your government is setting up concentration camps, and eventually you're going to reach the point where they come for you as well, and you're not going to realize you're living in a Reich until after the atrocities happen. Like, masked people not in uniform can legally kidnap you, even if you're a citizen, and kidnap you and just take you to a concentration camp. That's a legal thing that they can do right now in the US. And a bunch of states are trying to build extra concentration camps for all of the ethnic minorities, to be frank, that ICE is rounding up right now. And some of those people are dying. And some of those people are getting flown out of the country without due process, which is completely unconstitutional. And the president is revoking the powers of Congress and assuming them himself, so he's erasing a branch of the government. And all of the prices are going up for US Americans. Plus, he's erased all relations with other countries. I mean, you can't even sell US American weapons anymore, that's wild. That was a staple export. Not no more. I have to explain these things to non-US Americans out here traveling, because they're like, hey, what's up with, like, people not in uniforms can just kidnap US citizens now with no due process? And it's just, what's that about? And I'm like, yeah, the people voted for this guy who said he was going to arrest people without due process, and now they're doing that. Americans voted for that, apparently. I didn't, and so that's part of why I'm not living there anymore. Then they're like, wow, really, is the US that crazy? And then I'll tell them, like, that veteran suicide statistic or something, and they're like, what? Don't the veterans get housing when they come back? No, they don't. Do they get pay? No. They get 10% off of waffles at Denny's. What a bummer. What a bummer. Sorry to bring you down. Let's bring it up. Oh, geez, no, the last two things on this list aren't super happy. It's kind of good, though. I talked to my Jamaican friend Kevin here at the PH, and he told me that, like, a lot of Jamaicans, most of them still hit their kids, and he has children, and after he hit his kid, like, a couple times, he realized it was wrong, and he stopped cold turkey hitting his kids, and he thought it was really interesting of the generational influence and the cultural influence from the United States going on in Jamaica. But he knew his dad hit him, and he realized that if he stopped hitting his kids, this would be pretty big, because everyone he knew who was hit by their parents, and who hits their kids was hit by their parents. So he saw himself making this active decision to stop the cycle of violence. And that was a pretty cool conversation to have, that he was like, well, no, I care for my kids. I don't think hitting is actually helping anything. I'm just getting out my frustration, so I don't do it anymore. Which is cool. Good job, Kevin. Last thing I wrote is, I love the tattoos here. Everyone in Panama is tatted up. Maybe not everyone, but it's seriously like 60% of people here have quite a few tats, and they look good. I hope you're having a great day. I'm having a pretty good day. I'm going to go have a better day after this, and it's just going to keep being cool. I'm going to chill And then I'm going to get a good Italian pizza. I think I'm on another break from beer. I had some yesterday and I was just like, that wasn't pleasant. The 3 were great, and then I got 6 more, and I was like, why did you do that? Because I'm eating within my eating window again, so within like 4 hours of eating. And then I totally forgot yesterday and drank a bunch of beer, and it was just nothing. I'm enjoying, when I travel, I don't actually drink as much as I do in the States, because in the States, I sort of feel like I'm stuck, and so I'm just drinking because I'm just in a routine. There's nothing, it's not going to mess anything up, and at least the time goes by. But when I'm traveling, it's nicer to interact with all of my senses not dulled. So I take occasional breaks from drinking while I'm traveling for a month or several months. But the last one I took lasted like 4 days. There are too many new beers here in Panama for me to take super long breaks. But I've had all of them here, and I can at least, I'll wait a week before I get to Colombia and try theirs. But I've been enjoying this whole week without drinking beer. All healthy and strapping and thinking clearly and sleeping well. Starting to clean up my room because I've been here for 3 months, so there's just the cell phone box that I bought and just like a few things hang around, but I already ordered most things and cleaned the floor, so I'm pretty ready. I'm packing everything up. I still have a week to go before my flight takes off, but I'm just cleaning up a little bit every day to make sure this place is spick and span, because it was so nice when I moved in. I want to leave it in a nice state when I depart. And it's fun, because every time I clean or organize anything or whatever, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm about to travel again. I'm about to go discover a new country again soon. I'm psyched. If you have any ideas or comments about all that craziness I talked about, you can hit me up at bitofarambler@gmail.com or all of the socials, although I'll probably only answer Lemmy or Gmail. Just because I won't notice. If I see it on Blue Sky, for instance, I'll definitely answer. I just don't check those things very often. But I'm always on Gmail and Lemmy lately. Sort of. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope you also live next to an amazing Italian pizza place, and we can spiritually go get Italian pizza together. It's a date.